Hello. No more comments about my closet door, okay? I know, it's gross looking. But anyway, hopefully I'm going to start making videos in my room soon. So, this is going to be about Qigong. I just wanted to say, like, when I first started getting curious about, like, energy work and all that kind of stuff or whatever, it was because of probably Bravo, the TV station. They were playing some, weird things about Shaolin monks or whatever when I was really young, and I was like, oh, I need to watch that. So I did, and then I went to the library and started looking up things on Qigong. And got into it a little bit, and I was practicing it when I was like 15, in secret, because it was spooky. And my mom wouldn't have liked that. So, anyway, I was actually so interested in it, and I didn't even really know what it was all about. I just knew that it was like working with something that was invisible that could actually affect you, and therefore I wanted to know what it was. So I actually took this little book that I thought was good, and because it was a library book and I couldn't keep it, I copied all of the forms. I actually drew little diagrams and wrote down how to do the exercises in a little book, and then I kept that for myself. It was before, digital cameras and scanners and fax machines or whatever. Before everybody had them. Okay, so that was like my introduction to Qigong, and I would practice that all the time, and it was really simple forms. It was basically like holding the lower dantian just like this, down here, and then expanding it and bringing it back in, and expanding it and bringing it back in, up to the sides, gathering chi from heaven and pulling it down and all that kind of stuff. Never really had any intense experiences, except that I started to have a different sense of smell. It was really strange. And I started to be able to sense energy a little bit, It just felt like steam or heat or something. And that was pretty much it. And then, the rest. And then I started practicing spontaneous practice, spontaneous form, which technically is Qigong, but it was called something else. And that sort of just opened up all the pathways and got me going. But what I'm finding now is that I have categorized things differently as I'm going through my spiritual journey. And I sort of put Qigong in this Chinese Taoist category, and yoga over here, and Western energy work over here, which is like, it sounds much more open-ended to me, at least the way that we sort of define it, because Qigong is this over here, it's just like this, this form, this ancient form or whatever that's been around for so long, and they record the forms, and you do the forms a certain way, and then you repeat them, and then you do it again, and you go through all these sequences and cycles and things, whereas Western energy work just seems so open-ended. It's just like pull energy from Arcturus or whatever, and call the energy and all this stuff, and I'm just like, oh, what, But what I've discovered recently is that it's all the same. Qigong is energy work. Qi, we're loosely translating energy, and yeah, that's one translation for it. There are different types of energy or whatever, but that's usually what the word that they use when they just mean what we mean by saying energy. And gong is diligent practice, energy work, and so it was like, okay, just realizing that, and starting to think about things differently, because I've been practicing some Qigong forms lately, and discovering things about them, and there are so many different forms and styles. What we think about is, oh, I'm going to do the, crane form now and do this, and it's going to stimulate my liver channels and whatnot. But Qigong is much more involved in that. There's much more to it, and there are so many different forms There are sitting forms. There are, just meditation forms. And it just means energy work. And so what I discovered recently is this one that I just like. I really liked this book. Let me see if I can find it. I got it on my computer version of Kindle. I don't have a Kindle. I wish I did. That would be awesome. Loading. 30%, 40%, 50%. I think it's called... Here it goes. Any day now. Wow, this is taking a long time. My computer's actually fast too. I don't know what to. Chinese Shamanic Cosmic Orbit Qigong, Esoteric Talismans, Mantras, and Mudras in Healing and Inner Cultivation. Quite a title. And it is actually just that, and it's really good. And it's very esoteric, meaning like they'll take you through the different meanings of the Chinese characters of each form. But what struck me about this is it's called Qigong, and you never move the entire time. It's not moving Qigong, it's sitting Qigong. And it's basically just meditation with directed energy work. And so I just wanted to go through like the first 3 of them. I'm not going to, give away all the secrets or anything. But the first 3 of them are just interesting little tidbits, okay? So the first one, you just sit there. I can't see myself now. There's my head. And you make this mudra with the thumb, middle finger, and pinky finger, and you hold it down here at your lower dantian. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Yeah, I know, I'm best. So just hold it down here, and then you're just basically meditating and basically calling energy. Let me say what it says specifically. But this is the thing that surprised me about this, is like usually, your Qigong forms, whatever, you're synchronizing the breathing and you're bringing energy and you're moving and you're doing this moving meditation or whatever, but this is a little bit different, and you're just holding it here and you're doing a meditation and you're focusing on energy coming into your body, pouring in through all of your cells or whatever on the in-breath, and then on the out-breath you're mixing it into your lower dantian and eventually sounding a mantra at the same time. So it's all very not complicated, but straighten your back, feel as solid as a mountain. You lift your perineum, seal that thing, the acupuncture point known as Hui Yin, which is located at the perineum. Open your chest, bring your shoulders slightly back down. You're holding your fingers like this down here. And then you have a visualization, which is to relax the eyelids, allow your sight to go within, which is closing your eyes, of course, bringing it back to your body. Listen, visualize the chi state in which your whole body is soaking in the sunlight. Open all the pores of your skin and allow universal chi, like sunlight, to flow into your body through the skin. Feel your body merging with the light, and imagine both hands are holding a fireball or golden red sun in your lower dantian. See, this is just energy work. It's like a meditation. And I used to think that, visualization was kind of weak. It's like, it's much more difficult to visualize for me than it is to just like try to sense something. Like I can just focus on my arms right now and feel the temperature of the room around them. And then you adjust your breathing to be slow, smooth. Your breathing should be soundless. Breathing soft. Golden red sun that you're imagining in your lower belly. Gather the universal chi into your body through all the pores of your skin. As you inhale, as you exhale, merge the chi with the fireball or golden red sun that you are imagining in your lower belly. And then eventually, once you're, after a few minutes of this breathing practice, sound the mantra Hung. Hung. As H-E-N, pronounced Hung. And meaning sacrificial offering 9 times to strengthen your yang chi or life force. It will help you increase your energy in general. Okay. And that's just one of them. And then the other ones are basically, I don't think I'm going to go through like all the mantras and everything or whatever. If you like this book, you can look it up yourself. And I think it's really interesting. It's nice. It's an interesting form. And I think there's basically like 10 or 11, something like that, forms just like this, sitting forms where you're imagining energy on these different things, and they're really intense. Like if you get into it, then they're really intense. And the point is that all of this stuff, and I'll talk about something else too, all of this stuff, Qigong, energy work, whatever, there's so many different ways to do it, and I've sort of been like, I haven't really been knocking, the Western versions of it, which is like, visualize a golden halo around you and the energy pouring in or whatever. It just seems a little like frou-frou to me somehow, and I don't know why exactly. It just seems like, I don't know, it just seems weird. Maybe it's just because it's newer or whatever, and the Chinese have been doing this for centuries. It's tried and true. So I'm much more inclined to invest my time and energy into that system because people have been doing this for years. But now I'm starting to find out that it's a little more diverse than that, So, some of the other ones or whatever is just basically you just go like this, and then put your hands down here and sort of imagine yourself merging with the earthly chi, yellow chi or whatever, and your hands, your fingers can become sort of like roots and like dip all the way down into the earth, and you're doing the same type of breathing technique and drawing the energy up very slowly and filling your lower dantian with that on the exhale. And there's also a mantra for that one. And then you turn your hands upward, and then all of your fingers are connecting to all the different points of light in the cosmos, and you're pulling down cosmic chi or universal chi from the cosmos, and doing the same type of breathing technique and pulling it in very slowly and soundlessly. This is very, very light breath that we're talking about here, almost like you want to be not breathing and you almost want to have one breath, seamless breath between the exhale and the inhale, which means there's no catch between the exhale and the inhale. There's no pause or whatever. You just seamlessly and soundlessly. It's kind of difficult to do at first, of course, but you'll get used to it. Very, very relaxed through all of these forms. You have to be extremely relaxed when you're doing Qigong. It just really helps bring the energy in. And the same type of technique or whatever, pulling the energy in on the inhale and then merging it with the lower dantian on the exhale. Yeah. Anything else? There's other things too. What I'm finding out in my Neigong practice, which is it's becoming difficult to distinguish from Qigong because it's the same thing. I mean, Neigong includes Qigong. It's just that there are certain things that you would do in Neigong that you might not necessarily do in Qigong practice, because Qigong is included in Neigong practice. It's sort of like a mother practice, so that you're also going to be just lying still and focusing on relaxing individual muscles in your body. You're going to be changing your breathing patterns as opposed to just copying a form, which would be more like Qigong. I think that's more like the distinction that I'm coming up with between them, but that might be different. What I'm finding is there's a lot of history of spontaneous practice. I mean, Qigong, it's not like people were gifted with certain forms necessarily and then wrote them down and that was the only form. Maybe some people did and it became almost like, religious dogma or whatever, but that's not where Qigong originated. It originated from spontaneous practice, from people feeling the flow of the energy in the body and the meridians and the different acupuncture, whatever points, and spontaneously coming into a pose and allowing the energy to flow within that pose and then bringing it back and then scooping the energy around and bringing it back into the lower dantian or whatever. It's just, it's natural, and therefore spontaneous a lot of times. What was interesting to me, I recently found out, is that there's a certain form called, where did it go? It's right here somewhere. Wu Qin or something like that. I'm not sure if that's how it. Yeah, 5 animals, Wu Qin Shi, are a set of Qigong exercises and I'm really going to look more into this 5 animal qigong exercises, and they have different animals and a different history, and you can look it up on Wikipedia, and it'll take you through all of that. But in its current state, it's usually a certain number of animals, which I can't remember right now. I think it's like dragon and bear and deer and yeah. But apparently, it just involves focusing on certain acupressure or acupuncture points, which are the ends of the meridians on the body. And once you do that or whatever, you start to do spontaneous practice. I liked that. And so I tried to do that, and some things started happening, because I do a spontaneous practice myself, like all the time, and it really works or whatever. And once your body becomes loosened up or whatever, you start to focus on an acupressure point or any point on your body really, and you'll start to have a weird energetic spiritual experience. Like it just comes that easily, And so yeah, I'm gonna explore that more and talk about it. And then what I found also, I have this other book, and I like what I wanted to try to get across here is the different approaches to Qigong practice. Okay, you have a form, you copy the form, and that is a Qigong practice or whatever, but that's not really the point. Then all of a sudden you have a sitting form, which is not moving, and that's just basically a meditation practice, but it's still energy cultivation, which is different from most meditation practices when you think about it. Most of them just like focus on the mind. Then you have another more mental approach, which is getting into a certain pose, but what you're actually focusing on is becoming the dragon. So I'm doing dragon qigong, and I'm here up on one foot or whatever, and I've got my claws out, and I'm doing all this, stuff, and just letting the energy flow. But what I'm really focusing on is allowing the consciousness of the dragon to overtake my mind and allowing me to move as the dragon would move. The dragon being a very powerful spiritual consciousness above all mundane concerns. And so it's basically like channeling. I'm channeling the dragon as I'm allowing the energy to move me and do all these things, and then I'm up here or whatever, And it's really cool. And that was sort of something that I found in this book from like 1986 that I have no idea where it came from. It just appeared in my collection one day. I think it was like amongst a group of books that my mom got at a garage sale or something. I have no idea where it came from, like really. And it's bizarre. It's like sort of ahead of its time, but it's really classic Taoist healing material. And it's like a complete text of like all these Taoist exercises. There's the deer exercise for, cultivating male sexual energy and all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, why didn't I read this and devour this like at an earlier age? I always had it and I didn't realize it. But it goes into one form, in the animal forms or whatever, and basically they're completely freeform. It just basically says act like a dragon, and so it shows a little diagram, just one picture of somebody up there, and he's up on one foot and he's got claws and he's acting like a dragon. But the point is to just bring your mind into the consciousness of the dragon. And then it's act like a bear, and basically you're just, you're just channeling the bear or whatever. And that's Qigong, and that's the point, Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on right now in my head, especially as I practice different Qigong forms, and I'm really starting to open up to more energy pathways and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I just wanted to have that discussion. It's so many and varied, and I sort of used to just, not disdain, that's too strong a word, but I sort of used to just be turned off by a lot of these people on YouTube who are just, doing their own thing and pulling in the energy and expand, I'm like, okay, whatever. But, they know what's going on. I mean, I can't knock your personal experiences with energy, obviously, and it wouldn't be right of me to say that you're not experiencing it in a good way or whatever. I just always felt like it was a little weak or whatever, and I don't know why. It's some personal biases, I guess. But it's energy work. And let me just end by saying that the point of most of this is cultivation. That's why I like the Chinese traditions, the Taoist traditions. It is cultivation. Gong can also be translated as cultivation. Personal cultivation, energy cultivation. So what we're trying to do is not just open the body. That's usually more important for women, opening and cleansing and running through, because it needs to be a constant flow. Men, traditionally in Qigong forms, Neigong forms, or whatever, focus more on storing energy up, so that women will have the left hand over the left hand when they bring energy back together to the lower dantian, so that it continues to flow outward. Men will typically have it the right hand over the left hand so that it gets stored up or whatever. And that's just a guideline, really, but yeah. Was going to end by saying it's all about cultivation. Yes. So the point of a lot of this, well, that is the point of a lot of this energy work, no matter what tradition you're coming in. So I just think it's important to keep a focus on that and to actively cultivate the energy that you're channeling. And that includes if you're just working with fairies or dragons or the Arcturians or whatever, the energy that they're allowing to come through you, or Serapis, who's always staring at me over here and telling me to get on track. If I channel Serapis, I have a very strong experience of his personal energy, and it's highly spiritual and highly relevant for this time. And so instead of just channeling him and having him in my head, his consciousness or whatever, I look at it as channeling Qi. I'm channeling a certain type of Qi. And it would be extremely beneficial if channelers learned how to cultivate that Qi, as opposed to just channeling it and having it in the head and having an experience and having words come through and saying them, and then that's it. And then closing yourself off up here. Cultivate that energy, because we can use it. Okay, that's a good point. Cultivation.